Good morning, and I want to thank you all for joining me today. I want to thank Police Commissioner Kevin Davis, Baltimore Schools Chief of Staff Allison Perkins Cohen, and all the organizations and advocates that are here this morning to support our immigrant community. Baltimore's charm and its character is a product of many different cultures and immigrant groups coming together here in our city. We pride ourselves on the strength of our collective neighborhoods, from Little Italy to Highlandtown to historic West Baltimore to the Broadway corridor and Fells Point. All of these neighborhoods add to the character and the fabric of our city, and they make us who we are. I've called you here this morning to reaffirm Baltimore as a place that welcomes all people, American-born and new Americans. As you know, my administration and many partners have positioned Baltimore as a welcoming home to new Americans, a place where an aspiring student can attend some of the finest educational institutions in the world, a place where someone can tap into the city's entrepreneurial spirit to start and grow their own business, and a place where anyone can raise a family and buy a home. From the beginning of my administration, I've made it clear that a key part of our growth strategy is to encourage new Americans to come here and to make Baltimore their home. That's how Baltimore grew into an important industrial city in the 20th century, and that's one way we'll grow our city again in the 21st century. The presence of immigrants, of refugees, help make our neighborhoods across our city stronger and more diverse. And we all welcome that. In the wake of the national election, the role of welcoming cities like Baltimore has become even more vital. Welcoming cities are cities that promote mutual respect and cooperation between immigrants and long-term residents. Building inclusive and tolerant communities that reject bigotry has been a central pillar of our city, and one that makes Baltimore stronger and makes us all better. Now more than ever, we need to come together as a city, as one Baltimore, to make sure our communities send a strong and clear message that we all belong. This is a city for all of us, no matter where you may have originally come from. This issue is being debated right now around the country, and we must be committed to listening to one another, as well as respecting one another. The truth is that it's not what you look like or where you were born that makes you an American. It's how you live your life and how you treat others that defines you, who you are as a resident of the city and of this country. We know this is a difficult time, but as mayor, I'm committed to being there for you and doing everything I can do to assure our residents, including immigrants and refugees, that they feel safe and know that they are valued and belong in our city. Today, my Office of Immigrant and Multicultural Affairs will be releasing a community guide with information and resources to guide our most vulnerable constituents through the following weeks. In addition, efforts to coordinate immigration clinics are underway in partnership with community stakeholders such as CASA, Clinic, and World Relief. As a welcoming city, we'll be joining together in a spirit of unity to build a better, safer, and stronger Baltimore that embraces new and native-born Americans alike. Thank you very much. And with that, I think I am turning it over to our police commissioner. And again, I want to, before I bring Commissioner Davis up, I want to thank Commissioner Davis and all of the men and women of the Baltimore City Police Department for the work that they've done and the spirit in which they've done it after I issued my executive order, making it very clear that our police department is not, they don't operate as agents of ICE. They are not here to check anyone's papers, and they want people to come forward. If they are a victim of a crime, we don't want them to hide in the shadows for fear of deportation. And I want to thank all of our community members who have worked with our police department to ensure that the implementation of that executive order met the spirit in which it was written. So again, thank you very much, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. The fact that Baltimore is and remains a welcoming city is an absolute no-brainer for me and for the Baltimore Police Department. We serve residents from our diverse communities each and every day, and our capacity to fight crime and to identify those responsible for committing crimes is absolutely dependent on the trust and the relationships that we have with all members of the community. And I've spent the bulk of my 25-year career in public safety, dealing with some of the most and working with some of the most diverse communities in Maryland. And I'm committed to ensure that the Baltimore Police Department remains a partner with each and every resident of this city, period. And we're committed to doing that. So thank you again very much. And it's an honor for me to stand up here again with the mayor and so many others to reaffirm our commitment that Baltimore remains a welcoming city, and your police department, no matter where you're from or how you got here, is here to work and serve you. And I'm not exactly sure who I'm turning it over, so I'll look at Catalina. Okay, back to the mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner. And I want to acknowledge City Councilman Eric Costello, who is here and who's been a friend to native-born Americans as well as new Americans. I want to thank him for being here. And again, I want to thank members of the community who are here, but also members of my cabinet, members of my team who are here to reinforce how important this is for our city at this time. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Madam Mayor, are you concerned at all that you're placing the entire city at risk for a population that federal authorities view as being in this country illegally?
At risk how?
For federal funding.
So since we don't have jurisdiction over since we don't have jurisdiction over central booking, the federal funding issue doesn't really apply.
So you don't think that President-elect Donald Trump is going to withhold federal funding for sanctuary cities?
So in order to be a sanctuary city, the city has to be in control of central booking, which we are not. So we don't have that jurisdiction. So we are a welcoming city, which is different than a sanctuary city, which would potentially put us in jeopardy of losing federal funds.
Do you support efforts that have been discussed to deport millions of people who have criminal backgrounds?
Well, the criminal background issue is an important issue, but what does that mean? Criminal backgrounds how? I think that the problem is that we are creating a very scary environment for new Americans and Native Americans alike. In the wake of all of the push to identify who's an immigrant and who's not, many native-born Americans have been caught up in this, in this web. It's not good for anybody. We are all, we want to be a safe country, absolutely. But the efforts that were touted during the election weren't about us being safe. It was about dividing our country, and that's what we're here to stand up against. That we're a unified country.
To ensure that these type of actions don't put the city at risk of loss of federal funds?
I think we need to do what we're doing here and stand up. I think more state officials and county officials from around the state need to have their voices heard. And that we need to hold Governor Hogan and his administration accountable for how they treat everyone who is here living in Maryland.
Madam Mayor, what are some of the concerns that you've heard from city residents about President-elect Donald Trump coming in when it comes to immigration?
I'll ask Catalina Rodriguez-Lima, who's my office of NEMA, to offer that.
Obviously, there is a lot of concern and high levels of anxiety. We've heard from children who are afraid that their parents are going to be deported. As a result of that, our office has released a guide to guide our communities through the following weeks. The guide, first and foremost, reaffirms our commitment to immigrant communities. Two, it encourages community members to report hate crimes and, most importantly, call the police department if they feel threatened. We also are providing information on legal service providers and making sure that people are aware of immigration scams. The last thing that we're including in our guide is information about how to report bullying incidents in our school systems and counseling services. And we're working with our partners on an immigration clinic during the first week of December to guide them through the process over the next few weeks.
And as well, as Pew comes in, do you believe that she has the same viewpoints as you do when it comes to this particular issue?
I certainly hope so. It's not one of the things that we discussed, but I know that she understands and values the diversity of our city and respects, in the spirit of mutual respect that I think is missing so much in our country right now, respects the cultural richness that is represented here in Baltimore.
Mayor, what's the difference between a sanctuary city and a welcoming city?
So the term is often refer to the vibe movements on community policing. Sanctuary cities that have control over central booking and ICE deportation procedures are able to develop processes where you will not deport an individual. Unfortunately, for the city of Baltimore, we do not control central booking, but we do focus on community policing because, as the mayor mentioned, we want to make sure that immigrants and refugees are coming forward and reporting crime. That not only makes them safe, but the entire city safe.
So is this like kind of like a, I don't know, like a loophole that would allow Baltimore to possibly retain federal funding when other cities might be losing it?
I wouldn't call it a loophole. I would call it, listen, we know what jurisdiction we have. We know what jurisdictions we don't have. I want to make it clear that in Baltimore, we believe in the strength of diversity. We believe and respect you no matter where you, no matter, what part of the world you were born, and we will continue to do so. And I wanted our city to see the richness of the cultures who are here standing together in solidarity against bigotry, against hate, against this notion that it is us against them. I think we understand that we're all in this together, no matter what age or religion or background. We are standing together as one Baltimore.
You talk about respect, but what about following the law?
I follow the law, and I respect people.
As far as federal laws, though, if you're having undocumented immigrants.
So the challenge is there are not many people that think the federal laws on immigration work. So when you talk about following the law, that we are living at a time when the laws are broken, and everyone, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, recognize that. So we can stick our heads in the sand and pretend that's not the case and say, well, either you respect the law or you don't, when it's not that simple. There are some gray areas when the laws don't work, and we're living in that time.
So you just don't follow them?
Again, I would once again disagree with your characterization of me. I would say the immigration laws are broken.
Can I just add to that? I think it's not about following or not following the law, but it's making sure that this particular element doesn't deter our community of coming forward to the police department. We want to make sure that our officers are not arresting people based on immigrant status because we are not ICE. We're not federal officers. And it's about community policing.
So are you guys putting these community guides in response to kind of the questions? Because you hear that there's like so many questions that people are having, like you just alluded to. So are the community guides in response to fears and questions?
Absolutely. And we've worked to be responsive to the things that we're hearing. We want people to understand what their rights are. And we've tried to, in the community guide, capture what we have been hearing are the current concerns of our immigrant community here in Baltimore.
One more question.
How many undocumented immigrants do you believe live in Baltimore City?
Do you have a sense?
We don't have that information. The census captures information on U.S. citizens and non-U.S. citizens. However, non-U.S. citizens can be legal permanent residents, temporary protected status, individuals with a work visa. So it's difficult to know whether a person is documented or undocumented. What we do know is that we have multiple families that could have multiple statuses. It's not a group of undocumented individuals here and a group of documented individuals here. It's a combination. There are many families that have multiple statuses.
Thank you all very much.